As Madeline mentioned, this is going to be my first lunch and learn with you guys, so take it easy on me, and I will try and take it easy on you. But I'm looking forward to this being one of many opportunities for us to get together. Today, we're going to go over the new NetFlow On-Premise agent solution that we have to offer. So let's get started right away. We're going to have an agenda, which is going to be pretty similar. If you've been with us for any of our lunch and learns, we're going to try and go through this same set of topics every time. We're going to go over what is it. Then we're going to do a little demonstration where we show you how do you get it to work. Then we're going to go through how you can start using it. This is something that is available right away for you to start using, so you can make sure and start using that as soon as you are able and would like to start using it. And then at the end, we will take some questions, and hopefully I will give you some answers. So let's get going. Let's take a step back and go over what is NetFlow. Yes, we all know it's a Cisco protocol, but it has become a widely accepted standard. And basically it is a traffic log. It collects metadata on our traffic going across our network. It is not deep packet inspection. It does not give you that level of detail. So that is a different product and something else. But what it does is it takes that network traffic and takes it basically up from the packet level to what we would call the flow level. And the flow level is something that will allow us to track our usage data accurately, because the flow will give us stuff like the source IP, the destination IP, the source port, the destination port, and there's a few more items. We're not really interested in those few other items. Basically, we just need to get byte counters so we can accurately track usage data. Then when flows are finished, they get reported back to that collector agent that we are going to be setting up in the near future. And we will then take that data and get it up to Sonar for you to use. So that is kind of a high level, super high level view of NetFlow. And hopefully that explains things a little bit. Where are we coming from? So Sonar V2 did previously have a NetFlow receiver, but it was cloud hosted and was in beta. One of the things that NetFlow uses between the devices that are talking to each other is UDP for its delivery. As you probably all know, UDP is a connectionless protocol, meaning I send that packet and I hope you get it. That is great on well-managed networks. It is maybe not so great over the public internet and to a cloud delivery agent for collecting. So that was one of the struggles in the previous release. The other thing is, if you know anything about NetFlow, it can create an awful lot of packets for us to have to analyze. Your customers are using a lot of data. They're going to a lot of places, and that all needs to be tracked accurately. So that can send a lot of information over to this agent for processing. And that in the past all had to go out over your uplinks, and that could account for 1 to 2% of your network traffic. I think it's probably closer to 1, but it's not so much the percentage of the traffic. It's that it could be hundreds of thousands of packets. So it is better to keep that locally. So what has Sonar done to resolve those issues? This is our new NetFlow On-Premise, and that's what we're all here to get excited about and to learn about today. What we discussed is, this is going to provide accurate usage tracking for your network once we have this all set up. By hosting this locally, you're capturing the data right where it takes place. You're capturing this right at the source. The fact that it's UDP is okay because this is locally hosted. Typically the exporter and the agent are on the same LAN segment in a lot of cases. And so you have a great amount of control over that traffic because you have a great amount of control over your network. And then that agent will intelligently talk back to Sonar in a secure fashion so that it can learn about your accounts, it can learn about your IP mappings, and then it can use that information to aggregate at the account level and at the IP level and pass that back up to Sonar. And we will demonstrate all of that in the very near future. So that brings us to the, how does it work? Let's see this thing in action, and we'll get going. The first thing that you're going to want to do is to head over to the Sonar knowledge base, and you guys should all have access to that. And you will see that this part one, is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, but we're not going to go on that technicality. We'll just say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So with the knowledge base article up, you are going to find that you need to create a role. You're going to need to create a user. And then in that user, you can generate the personal access token, and that'll be what the agent uses to talk back to Sonar. You're going to want to record that in some kind of secure recording mechanism that you have so that you have that for our next steps. I would save it in something like OnePass or some other application that you're using for that sort of thing. So we're done with that. The documentation is really well written. Our team does a great job of that. So you should be able to walk through this very easily, and we won't take the time to demonstrate that. The next step, we're going to want to head over to our GitHub repository, and I have the URL for that listed at the bottom of this slide. So you should be able to get there easily. And there is, as there is for most GitHub repositories, a standard README file. And that README file will have all the steps to walk you through installing this agent. You're going to need to have either a virtual machine or a physical machine to be installing this on. So make sure that you have that ready. Many of us these days have some kind of virtual system set up so that we can easily spin up new instances and new operating systems. So you'll want to have something. We suggest using Ubuntu 24.04. That's the current long-term support release, and it's the one that has had the most internal testing here at Sonar. Now, we have also tested this with a number of other releases and distributions. You can look at the repository for the details, but we would suggest, if it's possible, to use that Ubuntu 2404, as that's going to be the one that gives you the greatest success. There's also some sizing guidelines based on your network from that README, so you know how big that virtual machine needs to go. All right, let's move on to setting up that agent. So we are going to start doing that right now. Let's look at our Sonar instance just to see what we did in that part 1. So in part 1, we went in there and we created our role. So you can see that we have that NetFlow On-Premise role, and that's there. We also set up a user. I just called my NetFlow API, and that is what we generated the personal access token from that I've saved. We go over to our terminal window for our Ubuntu, and the first thing we want to do is update. We want to make sure we're running the latest packages. We also have to install a couple of additional packages that typically might not be there. So this is going to just take us a few seconds. We're going to be patient. Let this go. We're going to watch a screen scroll. It's going to be fun. I'm going to run out of things to talk about, so we're going to just hope it really goes fast. And this is getting us, the packages that we need, and so the ones that we've tested with and that we know are going to install successfully. So you really want to make sure you've got an up-to-date system. Obviously, keeps you patched for security vulnerabilities and such. You saw that pop up. I have modified my SSH config so it's more secure. That's done. Now we're going to get the repository and bring that down. We're going to change into the directory for that that has been pulled in. We're going to copy our environment example over to the real environment variables, and then we're going to edit that. There's only a few fields in here that you need to change. The first one that you're going to want to change is the Sonar URL, and this should be the HTTPS for secure traffic URL for your instance, and you can put that in there. I have a demo instance I put up. And then that personal access token that we created on the user in our Sonar instance, which we saved off to the side, we're going to paste that in there. It is very long. Make sure it pastes in one line. And then we want to give it a name and the IP address. The name can be whatever you want. It's just going to be to associate this agent to your Sonar. I'm going to call it Lunch and Learn On-Prem. Then the IP address is the IP address of this server. I'm using an internal address. You might want to use your public address. And then you should change the database password, hopefully to something more secure than I'm changing it to there. After that, we're going to make the installer executable. And we are going to start the installation process, which is going to run anywhere between 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how fast your server is, how good your connections are, because it's going to pull in a lot of packages. While it's doing that, let's go back to our settings and into the networking, and we can scroll down and we can see that NetFlow On-Premise is listed there. We click on it, and we can see at this point we don't have anything set up because we're still in the process of setting this up. So thanks to the wonders of technology, we're going to step on the gas pedal, and this install is really going to fly by. I'm not going to make you guys sit and watch the screen scroll for 15 minutes. And at the end, we're going to get a key. That is an application key. You will probably want to save that along with the personal access token off somewhere. Now we just want to reboot the server with all the changes so that it can get a fresh start with everything that we've just put on. My virtual machine reboots pretty quickly, so we will only give it a little bit of time to reboot. It shouldn't take that long, and we'll see where we are at after that. I don't believe this is in the GitHub repository, but once it starts, we can kind of examine the status. Since we're using a lot of Docker, we can just look to see what's going on with the Docker images. So we log in, we change into our directory, and we run the Docker compose ps to see what's up and running. We can see that everything's running, it's healthy, we should be good. Let's go back to our Sonar instance and see what things look like. So we click back there, and sure enough, it's reported back. There's the name and the IP address we gave it from the environment. We could edit that and change the name. I wouldn't suggest doing that. Keep it in sync with your agent. You could delete it, but why would you do that? We just installed it. And then you can pull open the sidebar, and there will be some statistics, but we haven't given it anything to have for data, so there won't be any statistics at this point. So that's pretty much got the agent up and running, and the agent is communicating back to our Sonar instance. So what do we do next? Next, we need to configure our exporters, and these are what are going to monitor your network traffic and collect that NetFlow data and report it back to our collector agent. And we all love our MikroTik devices, so I picked a MikroTik device I have in my network, and we will just go through the demonstration of how to set this up with a MikroTik, but it will work with pretty much any router. They almost all have NetFlow capabilities built into them. A lot of switches these days have NetFlow capabilities built into them. There are a lot of places that you can get this data, and you can collect from more than one location if you need to. So if that is something that you need, just make sure you're not collecting the same data for more than one router, because otherwise you'll double up your usage data, and you certainly don't want to do that. So we use our Winbox app for our MikroTik router, and we're going to connect to our router. So let's do that. And once we're in here, we're going to go to the IP traffic flow. We're going to want to enable that, pick the right interface. Cache entries will help with the amount of traffic going back and forth. The higher you can make this, the better off you are, but it's going to depend on the resources for your router. So set that as high as you can. We recommend setting the active flow timeout to 15 minutes. This provides a good amount of time to report back, but still be usable for billing. And then the inactive flow timeout to 5 minutes. Do not select this packet sampling. If you do so, you'll only get part of the usage data, and it will not be accurate for usage-based billing and reporting. We now need to set up a target telling it where to take this NetFlow data it's collecting and send it back to our agent. So source address is the address of this router. Destination address is the address of our agent, that host that we just set up. If I could type there, 168.44. We'll leave the port, select version 5, and that will give us all the information we want without sending more information. So it'll be faster and less data storage. And hit OK. Now we wait for a few hours for it to collect data so that we can see what we're doing. This is going to be a boring part of the presentation, so sit back and enjoy. Okay. We don't have to really wait a couple hours. I actually collected this data for most of the day when I was creating this presentation, and we can now look at that. And that will be our last step. So we will just move on to verifying the data in Sonar. So we're going to just go back into our instance again and see what we've got now. We go to our settings. And then we go into networking and the NetFlow On-Premise. We can see now we have statistics and the last process date and time showing that we're getting some stuff. We click on that statistics. Now, I don't have a lot of traffic on the network, so those numbers aren't very big. Your numbers will probably be much, much larger than that. But we can see we're also capturing usage records. So open the sidebar, and that same information is shown to us once again. Let's find that account. So we go over to our accounts, and I know it happens to be that doctor there. We click on network and inventory. We can see that he has an IP address assigned on the network I'm monitoring. Go over to data usage, and sure enough, there's the little bit of data usage I captured for this. We can see at the bottom it's coming from NetFlow On-Premise, and we've got some up and down. That is really all that you need to do. And that shows you our new NetFlow On-Premise agent and how it can talk back to your Sonar instance. So the next step you're wondering is, how do I start using it? And we will take a couple of minutes to go over that right now. Pretty much what we did the last 15 minutes, just rinse and repeat that for your network. I would just suggest that you pull up the knowledge base article, pull up the GitHub repository so you've got the README. Take some time to read through those, and then follow these steps. Take that knowledge base article, go into your Sonar instance, create a role, create a user, and then from that user, create a token. And while this step isn't absolutely necessary, you really want to isolate the user being used for this from a security standpoint, and it is definitely a best practice. So don't skip step A. Do that and have a separate user for this. Then go over to a virtual machine or a physical machine that you have allocated for this and install the on-premise agent. You can just follow the steps from the GitHub repository. It will get you up and going pretty quickly. Log into your router or routers, set up the exporter. Again, we have examples of how to do this in the knowledge base article, so you can follow those. And really, that should be about it. Once you've got those pieces in place, it will take care of itself, and the account usage data will start arriving for you inside of your Sonar instance. It really is that quick and easy, and I hope you guys are excited to start using this new NetFlow On-Premise and start tracking your usage data that you have flowing across your network. At this point, if there's any questions, I would be happy to try and answer those. Otherwise, thanks for watching this, and I appreciate the time.
Awesome. So it's so interesting. I'm not a technical user myself, but such a good explanation. I don't think I was wrong in saying you were really great at explaining very technical things to even a non-technical audience. So thank you so much, Larry. I will say, if you haven't been here before, you can pop your questions, if you have any, in the comment section. For now, I don't see any, but I have a couple that I can kick things off with. As I said, not a technical user, but I know NetFlow does have multiple versions. So which versions of NetFlow are supported with this?
So the collector will technically support all of the versions of NetFlow, version 5, version 9, IP fix. As I was quickly flying through the demo, though, I suggested that you want to go with version 5. That would be the best practice suggestion that we have. And the reason for that being is the other ones just started to add more and more and more features. But for usage-based billing and collecting that account level usage information, we don't need anything more than version 5. So keep your packets smaller, keep your data storage requirements smaller, and just use version 5.
Awesome. Okay, we have a question from a user. So it says, I'm looking at our Sonar instance, and under settings and networking, I don't see the NetFlow tab. Is there anything that users need to do to enable that so they can turn this on?
No, there should not be anything that we need to do to enable that. I will take that back and get it looked at. This should be a feature that we've turned on and is available to all of our Sonar customers. So
Perfect.
Reach out to your support person if you don't see that pop up in the near future. Maybe just try refreshing as well.
Perfect. I can flag that with your CRM, James, as well. If there's anything funny going on in your instance, they can help walk you through it as well. I've got one more question for you, Larry, and then we'll see if there's any more questions that come through from our attendees. Is there any way to monitor the receiver's health and performance? So things like CPU load, queue status, drop flows, things like that.
So that's not built into the agent. The agent is really just there to collect the NetFlow information, but that is absolutely something that we would say you should be doing. I mean, in the Sonar instance, you can see the last time it's reported, and you can see the bytes that it's collecting and things like that, so you know it's working. But a lot of you guys are going to be running these on like hypervisors like VMware, maybe ESXi, servers, and a lot of those have tools to monitor CPU usage, to monitor disk space, and you should definitely be doing that. You probably, if you don't have that in there, you probably are running some kind of network monitoring system, which is able to monitor hosts. You definitely should be monitoring it, because you don't want to run out of disk space. We all know the problems that causes, and you definitely don't want to have this underperforming because you didn't give it enough CPU or you didn't give it enough memory. Like I said, there are some guidelines in the GitHub repo that will tell you how to size this appropriately, but that monitoring will give you the assurance that you've sized it appropriately.
Perfect. Well, I don't see any other questions yet, but as Larry said, we have really excellent documentation on this. So you can always hop over to the knowledge base and search NetFlow On-Prem. And you will have a great walkthrough there. This video will also be sent to you as a recording afterwards via email. And thank you everyone so much for joining us. Thank you, Larry, for hosting. That was an amazing presentation. And we will see you all again next month for August Lunch and Learn.
Yep. Thank you all. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you for taking time to be with us today.